Man of the Prize podcast. It's me. You know who I am. I'm your host, Harvey. I hope the week is great. I hope life is good. I hope everything that you want to accomplish is happening. And I hope you're able to handle whether or not it's working the way you wanted it to. You know, sometimes our plan doesn't happen the way we expect it, but as long as you stay on path, you'll be fine. As usual, another great guest. But this is cool. I can't lie. I wasn't sure I was going to get the pleasure of speaking to this man, but he was like, let's go.
Yeah.
So I had to go. The Vibe with Kai. I will just refer to you as Kai. Welcome to the podcast. How are you, sir?
I am doing especially well today, my friend. This truly is an honor to be sitting and talking about this with somebody like you. And man, it's been quite the ride. So to talk about it means the world to me.
Excellent. I'm glad. I'm going to read a bio because I love bios. I've read quite a bit and they're always fun. So let's just get into it. And this is from your website. About me, about Kai. I am a motivational humorist who loves to learn about your healing journey while having you tag along my very own mental health journey. I love for you all out there to know that it is important to understand mental health, to talk about mental health, and to hopefully end the stigma surrounding mental health. This is literally why I wanted you on. Every day, I speak and learn about mental health topics as that I struggle with myself in hopes of inspiring others to open up about their mental health as well. Quote, I am the one thing in life I can control. That is Aaron Burr from Hamilton. Serves as a jumping off point for me and my journey, promising that I will help at least one person each day and make their day just a little bit better. If you're looking for levity and brightness in a world full of darkness, the Vibe with Kai is the place for you. I believe in you. Now it's the time for you to believe in you as well. I like that.
It's weird to hear it read out loud.
I'm
Like
sure it is. I've done a few podcasts, and you know this. I don't like writing about myself either.
I
So
know,
you're
it's
gonna
so
write about
weird.
it.
You know
It's
how
like,
hard it was to write that in the first place?
I know,
You know?
I know.
Because you have to like kind of like flex without like flexing, you know? Like you're like, hey, I'm cool, but like I'm modest. I'm humble, I
Yeah,
promise. But I'm
yeah,
cool.
like a gentle cocky. You can't be
Yes.
cocky. You're like, I am pretty good, but I don't want you to know that I know. Like, I
Yes.
did a bit, but no, but it's well described, and it's the one time where you get to be like, you know what, I did this, and I did this, and I did this, but you did it with a respect that I was able to. But I've read quite a bit of it. Some of them like, I'm the man. I did this, this, and this. You lucky to be hearing me, so, but I didn't get that feel for you. So the reason that I wanted you on here is because this podcast is a space for men to talk. And that's really what this is. Men to talk about anything. Because men, we're not really raised to do so. We're supposed to be stoic. We handle business. We rub dirt on it. Whatever happens, we just keep it in here. We keep it moving. And that's led to so many issues for us men. And when we finally just let it all go because we can't hold it in any longer, then that toxic word comes out. And the more I heard the word, the more annoyed I got. And I'm like, there's got to be a way past it. So let's just talk about it. Let's just open up and talk about whatever. This is a safe space. And what you do, and I've seen you on TikTok continuously, and what you do, and you're so funny and it's so comfortable. And I don't feel like I'm really learning anything, but I'm really learning something about it. You do it with such a calmness that I'm like, we have to talk. So this is great. You ready to get to it?
I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
Awesome. All right. If you are a new listener, welcome. If you're not, you know where I'm going. This podcast is called Men Are the Prize. Prize is the key here. I take 4 of these letters, and each letter represents a word that I think are good characteristics for a man. So we're going to go piece by piece and we'll talk. The first letter in the word prize is P. The word is purpose, reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists. So, what is your purpose now?
We're starting there. What is your
We go
purpose
big,
in life?
baby. We go big, right to
Why
it.
are you here on this earth? What is your
The
goal?
typical podcast question, man. What are you here for?
That's a great question. I mean, there's so many different ways to answer that. And what's funny is that I think as you go through life, that purpose can sometimes change depending on, whatever situation that you're in, whoever you're surrounding yourself with, and so on and so forth. But for me, right here, right now, my goal, I guess my purpose is to educate as many people as I can about the importance of understanding mental health. People are so afraid to talk about it, me included. It is frightening to say in front of millions of people, I have severe depression, high functioning anxiety, and ADHD. Like me, it's really difficult to do that. So, but I want to be able to add a little light to it because it's a very dark subject matter, and I want to be able to make it relatable and find some levity in it, so that way people are more likely to talk about it and hopefully understand and hopefully start conversations with it.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned a few of the things that you're kind of going through. So depression, anxiety, ADHD. So let's talk about it if you can. When did you know that you had each of these? How long have you known that you've had ADHD? How long have you known, or have you known them but didn't really have a title for them? So how long did you know about each, if you can talk about it?
That's a fantastic question, because this is something that I'm still coming to terms with. I was diagnosed with high functioning anxiety and severe depression in March of this year.
Oh, wow.
This year. And I was diagnosed with ADHD a month and a half ago. This is all new to me. But here's the really interesting thing. As I, was speaking with my doctors, and as I continued to educate myself about what exactly those things are, I realized that the signs were there my entire life. My entire life, the signs were there. I just, to your point, I didn't know, and the people around me didn't know. My athletic coaches didn't know. My parents didn't know. My sister didn't know. The adults in my life had no idea, so I had no idea. And so the things that were blaring in front of me in regards to symptoms, I thought that it was just my weakness. You know what I'm saying? I thought that I was just weak-minded. I thought that I just had to be better. I thought I had to, just get rid of it. And I thought I did, but come to find out, I was honestly just suppressing a lot because I wasn't willing to be vulnerable. And it wasn't until March of this year, when there was about 4 days where I could not get out of bed at all. Like something was wrong leading up to that, but like those 4 days particular, I was in bed, I couldn't get up, I had no motivation to get up, and I'm like, this is not okay. And a couple people in my life stepped in and said, hey, you need to go talk to a doctor right now. And I did, and that's when it started to open up my eyes, and the blinders that I had up in front of me were pulled away, and I was like, oh shit. This is real, this is really happening.
Okay. Do you mind telling us, now that you know, obviously hindsight 2020, what was in your face that you just didn't recognize was symptoms of an issue? What can you think of?
Absolutely. First and foremost, there was a lot of times that I just felt down. I felt sad and I didn't know why, right? I felt that I had a good life, have like at the time, but I'm like, something's missing, something's off, and I don't like this feeling. And I would end up crying for what I thought was no reason. And I was just sad all the time. And this is when I was in like middle school, high school, but I didn't think anything of it, right? And then on top of that, on the ADHD side, I mean, I could not sit still. I could not pay attention for long periods of time. I would lose track of time. I would want to get up out of my seat sometimes, but I couldn't, and I would have that ADHD paralysis. All of those things were happening to me. And I honestly thought, oh, I'm just lazy. I need to get my butt up. Let's go. I need to get up. Or no, Kai, focus, 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 focus. And I'm like trying so hard to do it. Come to find out, there's a literal chemical imbalance in my brain. And that's making this a thing. So yeah, it's crazy to think about now.
That's crazy. So you're going through life as a young man, growing man, and you've got all these things happening. Can you remember how you were feeling while they were happening? Obviously, you mentioned, there's just something wrong with me. So there's that physical sense. But How did you feel about that? Were you really like, there's something wrong with me? Did it affect anything that you did? Were you struggling in school? Were you struggling in sports? How were you emotionally dealing with these struggles that you were going through?
Not healthily, I'll tell
I
you that.
imagine.
I was frustrated because I honestly thought it was me. I thought that I was just not motivated enough to be the best person on the team. I'm like, I don't have what it takes to be, the top guard on my basketball team. I don't have what it takes to be a good hitter in baseball. I really was beating myself up, and I was frustrated because I'm like, I don't understand why. I want to do this so bad. I want to be the best I can be, and I don't know why I can't do it. And at no point did it cross my mind that there was something going on up here that I couldn't control. I thought that it was just purely me. Because, like, to your point, you were saying this earlier, growing up, especially playing sports, we're just told to, to brush it off, right? To rub some dirt on it, to get up, keep moving, right? And we're taught to not be vulnerable. We're taught to just be like, let's go. I am man. I am man. We
Exactly.
we know cry. We know cry.
Exactly.
I am man, kind of thing. And so that's instilled in our brains, and that's what was happening. So, like, to be honest, I wish I can go into more detail about how I was feeling, but I don't know, because I guess hindsight's 2020, so I can sit here and say that now, but like in the moment, I was frustrated. I had no idea what was happening.
Okay. So now you said, I can imagine there's a lot going through your head. I've got these struggles. I'm going through this. I don't know why. It's not like I'm in a bad situation. Life is pretty good. So I wanted to ask that. So there's so many stigmas about mental health. One, about its sheer existence, but two, about maybe parents. I'm a parent of four. I've got four kids, and I'm a stay-at-home dad, in fact.
Mhm.
So I'm at home for my kids.
I have two cats. Does that count?
I guess it
Does it count? Okay. All
does.
right.
Do
Just
you
want to
keep
make
an eye
sure.
on them? Do you feed them? You take them to the vet when
I
necessary?
feed them. I
You're
take them to the vet. And all of that stuff. I'm putting them through the school. They're in college now. They're doing great.
oh look at you. Well done, sir. Well done. I was see. I could, as a parent, when I hear your story. Okay, real quick. In terms
Mhm,
of your household, parents both
mhm.
there,
Oh, I
pretty
thought you were gonna
good.
say, did you have parents? Yeah, I did.
Well, you
I did.
mentioned that. Like the
I was
reason I
born from
asked,
two human beings. Congratulations to
good.
me. I know. Yeah, no, I had both my parents, my mom and my dad in the
Mhm.
house, and my older sister. It was the four of us
Okay.
all together. Hmm.
So the reason I ask is that as a father of four, there's a lot of things that you're going through. So I look at it as one, as a black male, I'm 47, and I hear all the things that you're going through. But I also look at it as a father who's got a son, 18-year-old, ADHD,
Hmm.
three daughters. And as he was growing up, and as they are growing up, there are things that I see. There are things that now I think that I recognize now because we talk about ADHD, we talk about anxiety, we talk about all this stuff. I was wondering, do you, now that your parents, I'm sure, are aware, or your family is aware of what's happening, do they say, you know what? I didn't see that. Or I did see it, but I didn't think it was anything. What's the response been from your family once this has kind of come to light?
I'm gonna blow your mind. I have been too afraid to talk about it with my parents. They're aware of it.
Okay.
They know. And my dad and I briefly talked about it. But my mom and I haven't really talked about it at all. And it's terrifying to think that, or to talk about that with them. And that's something that I've been working on mentally, for a long time, because, like, I don't know what to say. And I feel like they would, blame themselves for this. And I all I want to do is just, like, explain to them that this is nothing that you did. You know what I'm saying? This was
Mhm.
all, like, literal just stuff in the brain. And it's scary to talk about that, especially because, like, we've gone my whole life, not thinking anything like that. And it's easier for me to share my story in front of 1 million people as opposed to sitting down with my mom and saying, this is what I'm diagnosed with and this is what I'm doing about it. It's hard, very hard.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
Understood. And it's easy. I mean, as as wrong as it sounds, it must be by now pretty easy to just get on your phone and just kind of talk to kind of like a faceless, huge group of people who love and appreciate everything you're saying, who don't
Not
literally
everybody,
respond.
not
Not,
everybody, I'll tell you
I'm
that.
sure. Oh, yeah, and there's no doubt about that. Not everybody's gonna love it. No, and I'll ask you about that in a little while.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's got to be like all these people, but then like the important people, the people you have to look in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's such another dynamic to it because you know what, this is what's happening to me, but then you have to sit there and contemplate how they're going to take it on themselves. My
Mm-hmm.
mom, I'm as I can imagine, your mom's like, the hell? I didn't see this, I didn't see that. Dad, you same thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different factors to it, especially when you're an adult and you discover all this stuff. When you're a
Mm-hmm.
kid, you're not really thinking that. It's like, this is me,
Right.
whatever, mom, what do I do? But you're an adult and now
Yeah.
you recognize it and now they recognize it and what do you do? So I can understand the fear in having
Mm-hmm.
a kind of a conversation. Nobody wants that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
but you're kind of having it with people who not
Yeah.
to say anything bad about them, who don't really matter as much
Yeah,
as these
it's
two people
funny
do.
because
Yeah.
I've been like talking about it with them without directly talking to them about it, right? Because
Mm,
like I'll
mm,
post stuff on social. My mom follows me on social, so she knows everything, right?
okay.
My dad knows everything. My sister, they know everything. They see everything that I post. They see everything that I talk about, right? But we have never actually sat down and said, "Hey, this is what's going on." But I will tell you this, even though we haven't talked about it directly, those three have been the most supportive people ever. They are supporting me in such a way, making me know that I'm loved, making me, know that they appreciate me and the work that I do and they're proud of me. And that in and of itself makes me feel safe and comfortable. And I kind of like the little pocket of comfort that I'm in right now. I'm like, I don't want to mess this up. I
I
like
know.
this little pocket.
I know exactly what you mean. I
Yeah.
talk to a lot of men, and one thing I kind of discovered is the word safe. You mentioned safe. And one thing I've not discovered, one thing I found is that safe means different things to women and to men.
Mhm.
I've really found that safe for women literally means I'm not going to get beat up. Like I'm in a space where I'm safe physically, nothing's going to happen to me. We don't, for men, it's not that same thing. Safe for us is I can talk and I'm in a place
And be
or with
vulnerable.
people
Mhm.
and be vulnerable comfortably
Mhm.
because I think a lot of us, and we'll get into the fact that we're both Black men, where we can talk, we don't always feel comfortable talking about what's going on because of who we're talking to. So to be safe as a man is to be safe to say, I did something dumb and to know it's not going to get anywhere. Or to
Yeah.
say, I didn't get the promotion that I wanted and I'm heartbroken about it. And I don't know what to do. I just want to go in that corner and cry about it. And to be able to say that comfortably is a safe place.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so whenever I hear somebody say safe, I always think about
Yeah.
that because safe means, yeah, I can talk, or safe means, please don't hurt me. It's so interesting how the word can have different definitions.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you kind of opening up about that.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I use my platform the way that I do. I want to be able to create safe spaces for other people, to be able to share their stories and and sometimes even just to listen to other people's stories and when I go live, and talk with people, there's no judgment, there's no hatred, there's nothing but support and love. And anybody that does not follow those rules is immediately evicted from that situation,
Good,
from that group. We
good.
just don't allow that. We want it to be a safe space.
That's good. That's excellent. You mentioned it. I guess let's just kind of get it out of the way. What negativity can you possibly be getting? Like I know it's TikTok and it's just like this melting pot of just great people and just trash. But what are you getting? What's the negativity coming?
Yeah, there's a different like batch of people. So like there's different types of people that will, just not like you. So first and foremost, you have like the trolls. Those are the people that are just gonna say shit just to say shit, right? Just
Right,
because they can, right? So like
right,
push them out the way, right?
right. Hmm.
The next people, and I'm talking just mainly from a mental health standpoint. The second
Right.
people are second set of people are the people that are mental health, I want to say experts or coaches, that all they want to do is say, no, don't say that, don't do that, do this, and try to point people in a specific direction, and things like that. Then you have people that call my platform toxic positivity. Toxic positivity. It's a real
What?
thing.
What does that
Toxic
mean?
positivity. Yeah. So it means that my positivity is being used in a malicious way. Yeah, yeah, I know. Yes, yes, it is a thing. And here's the thing: there are other content creators out there that do it. And for me, I always try to be as genuine as possible. That's why on my platform, you're not just going to see me when I'm having a great day. You're going to see me when I'm having a not so great day too, because I want people to be able to see that, because not every day is going to be like, yeah, good vibes, let's go. Like it's not going to be like that every day. I'm a human being, and it's very important for me to showcase that side of it, and to be as genuine as possible. And yeah, I mean, on top of that, sometimes, you'll say something in which people will just simply disagree, right? For example, I did a post, this was earlier this year, when I was prescribed Wellbutrin, right? And Wellbutrin works for me. It does not work for everybody, just like any other medicine. It could be Advil, right? Sometimes
Right.
it works for some people, sometimes it don't. But the thing is with Wellbutrin, the when it doesn't work for you, it's bad, because it's
Mm.
not just like, oh, I don't feel anything. It's bad. Like I'm talking like mood swings, anger, dark, unaliving thoughts type of stuff,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
And so like when people see me talking about Wellbutrin, they think of their experience with it, whether they were the one taking it or they knew somebody that was. And so they're just immediately like, no, don't take that. Don't ever take that. And I always tell people, listen, you got to talk to a mental health professional, right? And when you talk to a mental health professional, you and that person will be able to decide what's best for you and your body. And if you want to get a second opinion, you can. I'm never going to be a poster boy for a certain type of medication or even a certain type of therapy that people may want to take, because some things work for some people, some things don't, right? But at the end of the day, you don't have to be on this journey by yourself. As long as you're out there talking to a mental health professional, that's all that matters to me.
That's good. That, that's sad that people can
Mhm.
find negativity in even the best, most well-meaning of situations. But
Yeah.
clearly you're rising above it, and that's good, and that's necessary. That's good. The next letter in the word prize is R. The word is resilience,
Mm.
the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and toughness. So, can you think of a particular situation, something that happened? And you may have already mentioned it, and if you want to, or you can think of something else, you can. A situation where something happened where you discovered that you had a resilience that you didn't know you had.
It probably would have to be, I would say, the fall of 2018. In the fall of 2018, three things happened to me. Number one, I ruptured my Achilles, which is one of the worst things that you could do to your foot. It's actually worse than breaking your foot. So I couldn't walk. The second thing that happened was the woman that I was with at the time, the woman I swore I was going to marry, swore, we broke up. It just ended like out of the blue. And the third thing that happened is one of my closest friends in the world passed away suddenly. All three of those things happened 3 weeks in a row. And it was probably one of the darkest times of my life, because I'm sitting at home by myself, unable to walk. My closest friend is gone. My girlfriend is no longer there, and it's just me in my apartment on the third floor on a building that has no elevators. And so I was in probably the darkest spot, but it was in that moment. I would say I went maybe 3 months just in this really dark spot, thinking thoughts that I would never think that I would have. And it was in that moment, probably December, is when I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I have to do something about it. And I took it to another level. I'm like, I'm going to get help. I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to document this experience. And so I started documenting just my mental health and the things that I was doing just to kind of get better in that moment.
Okay. Wow. Wow. One of those things. I hear you. So you can't walk, you lose a person that you may lean on, and you lose that, that significant other. I hear you talking about like your Achilles, and it's almost like you can't even run away from the problems, literally, because you're kind
Yeah.
of stuck.
That's
So
very
that's
poetic. That's very poetic of you.
because if all this is happening, and obviously, I don't know, did it happen? Were you balling? Were you but
I
when
was
you did it?
actually, yeah, I actually was playing basketball. It was on
Okay.
Halloween night. So I'm actually coming up on the 4 year anniversary of it. It was on
Okay.
Halloween night and I was playing basketball. And I always tell when people ask like what happened, I'm like, do you want the true story or do you want the story that makes it sound cool? And so like,
Let's go
so
raw, baby. Tell us what really happened. Let's go.
so I'll really quickly tell the cool story. So the cool story is that there was like 5 seconds left in the game. I was driving to the basket. I took the last shot. It went in, and I just came down and I like ruptured my Achilles. But I stood up and I'm like, I made the basket. Blah blah blah. Kind of went out like a hero, right? That's
Right,
that's
right,
that's the, that's the heroic story. This is what actually
right.
happened. So we were playing and somebody took a shot and they got fouled and the ball ricocheted off the basket and it was going down the court. So I'm like, oh, I'll just go get the ball for the ref. So I start running down the court and I just hear a snap. And it felt like somebody stepped on the back of my foot. And I just fell to the ground. And I was like, what the hell? Right. And I turned around, I'm like, who stepped on my foot? And I looked around, there was nobody around me. And then I hear some guy be like, ooh, that didn't sound good. I was like, what? Right. And at this point, I start to panic. And then I'll save the graphic details, but I looked down at my leg and I immediately knew
Oh,
something was not good. It was not good at all. And so
oh.
that's what actually happened. Yeah. When I was in the hospital, the doctor told me, he said, you ruptured your Achilles. It would have been better if you broke your foot because you would probably be able to walk sooner. And I did not walk again until about April of the following year.
I'm not athletic at all. I was playing basketball with some family members,
Mhm.
and I think I set a pick, and then I swore somebody had like a bat and just nailed me in the back of my leg. That's
Oh
what it
my
felt
gosh.
like. It's like bang. I'm like, what was that? And nobody was there. It's literally the same thing. I just really hurt I didn't rupture my Achilles. I really messed up. I think I sprained it or something.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I felt like somebody ran up and caught me. So when you're explaining it, I'm like, oh my God, I know exactly what you're talking
yeah.
about. Oh my God.
It's
Oh my,
awful. It's not fun.
oh
If
no.
anybody's listening to this right now and you're considering getting a ruptured Achilles, let me
No,
advise
don't do
against it.
that.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's
Like,
not fun. If you were thinking
keep
about it,
your
you might want
Achilles
to do
intact.
something else.
Oh my goodness. So, all right. So all this happens. You're in your dark place. How do you kind of dig yourself out of it? Do you remember? Is there like a timeline where you feel a bit better? Something is
Mhm.
happening. Maybe you start to feel better when you start walking or when you meet somebody, when you reconnect with some friends. What's like the timeline for you to kind of get out of that dark place when that happens?
Yeah, this is actually how the vibe with Kai started. So in December of that year is when I'm like, I have to do something, right? And so I said, okay, I'm gonna just start talking about my feelings online. And so in January of that year, I create a thing called Good Vibes with Kai. And it's just a blog where I'm just writing about how I'm feeling. I'm just kind of getting it all out there. I'm like, nobody's gonna read this, but at least it's like it's very therapeutic for me. So I'm just gonna talk about things and just spread positive energy and all of that. So start doing that. I would say by the time I started walking again is when things kind of started to pick up a little bit on the Facebook side of things. And by pick up, I mean like Not really. I mean, but like more like there was like maybe two more people that were like, oh, maybe I'll read this. Like it was like, you know, it wasn't big, but like it was at that point that I realized, okay, I'm really going to start taking this seriously. And it wasn't until the pandemic when things really just took off for me. So got hurt in 2018. 2019 was kind of like an experimental phase. By the time I get to 2020, March of 2020, um, by that point, I turn it Good Vibes with Kai. I turned that into The Vibe with Kai, and that was a suggestion that one of my friends at work gave me. I'm like, yeah, actually, I like that a lot. And so at that point, I started taking it very seriously. And like just like everybody else during the pandemic, in the beginning part, I was bored. I was in my house, had nothing to do. So I'm like, I'm gonna start a podcast. And then I started podcasting, and I started Instagramming, and I started, I got on TikTok, and I didn't think anything of it. And then 2020 happens, and then by the end of that year, I think I reached 100,000. 2021 happens, and like I just things blow up. And now, I mean, this year I'm at 800,000, about to cross a million. And it's just like I'm so blessed, because at no point did I think that anybody would want to hear my story. At no point did I think that anybody would care, to hear my story. And but people do, and people have been so supportive. And it's been so nice to not only be able to tell my story, but to also hear other people's stories.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that is probably the best part of all of this, because I start to realize, talking with people all around the world, that we're all the same. It doesn't matter what state you're in. It doesn't matter what country you're in. It might matter what planet you're on, but we'll see. But like outside of that, we're all the same. We're all the
Mm.
same. We go through the same things, and we have similar stories, and it's so beautiful to just listen to. And I've learned so much.
That's amazing. That has to be interesting to hear. And it's so many different stories, but inevitably, like you're saying, we kind of end up in the same place.
Mhm.
Something happens and we get to a place. So something happens from somebody else, but we'll get to the same place. And when I talk to people, I feel like a lot of the issues that, and since this is like a men's podcast, but one thing I've recognized, the vast majority of the issues that we have, we can resolve by listening.
Mhm.
A lot of the stuff that we men go through is talk, just get it out, and
Mhm.
then whoever you talk to, chances are like, you know what? I went through that same thing. You know how
Mhm.
comforting is to know that I'm not the only person who, whatever.
Yeah.
That person went through the same thing. That person, he's in Finland. He went through the same crap
Mhm.
I did.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
person's in Africa, same struggle.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's still hard, but I'm not alone, and that's a big thing. So I think
Mhm.
that's just one of the reasons why you really resonate with your audience on TikTok, because you just talk about stuff that happens to all of us. And I can really be like, you know what? I had that kind of crappy day too. It wasn't just me. That
That's
I
the
think
best
that's
part, just making things that are just based off of real life situations that people are watching, like, oh yeah, I've been in that situation before.
hmm
I
hmm
try to give words to people and insight to people that may not have it. They may not be able to express it or understand what's happening. And if I'm able to just lend them, a brief moment where they're like, oh shit, I'm being heard right now. I'm being felt right now. I'm being understood right now. If I can give them that brief moment, then I'm satisfied. Mission accomplished for me.
Definitely. Oh, you're getting it done. So many people help you, are helped by you, and we appreciate it. I skipped the I in the word prize till we get to the end, but we'll come back.
Mhm.
The next letter in the word prize is Z. The word is zeal. I love zeal. I love that word.
Zeal.
Zeal.
Nice. I
Zeal.
was wondering what word you're going to go with, because I'm like, there's only so many words you can kind of go with here. So it's going to be either be zebra, or there's going to be like a word that I didn't think of.
I'm telling you, this college degree came in, it worked out. Well, here it is. Enthusiastic devotion.
Mhm.
So just to kind of step kind of off of our, kind of what we're talking about here for a second. Aside from this work that you do, which is helping people, what are you enthusiastically devoted to?
Are you talking like hobbies or just in general?
Whatever.
I'm enthusiastically devoted to making people smile. And I know that sounds cliche, but like it is like a like at, for lack of better term, it's a turn on I guess for lack of better term, like not sexually, don't be weird, but like it's like it's just like it's just it makes me happy to see other people happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And like I really, really enjoy that. Like I feel like my glass is filled when I see other people smiling and laughing and having a
Mm-hmm.
good time. So I'm devoted to that. From a hobby perspective, uh, this is something that people don't know about me. I am ridiculously uh in love with theme parks and roller coasters, as in like not just like I enjoy them, I study them. And you could
Okay.
probably ask me most things about roller coasters or theme parks, I might know the answer, probably, most likely.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Um, have you been to New York?
Yeah, I live in Philly, so I'm only an
Oh,
hour and a
okay. Oh,
half.
you close.
Yeah,
So you've done Coney Island, I assume.
I have.
Okay.
You can't be a roller coaster fan and not do the Cyclone, man.
That's what I'm saying. That was my first roller coaster.
Oh, really? Oh,
My
nice,
first wood.
nice.
Oh, I was 8 and I cried
That's
like a
old
baby.
school. Yeah.
Oh my God. I got on there. My mom's, you sure you want to go? I'm like, yeah, I can do it. I can handle
Yeah.
it. I sat there and oh, it was
Mhm.
sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
I
still
loved
doing its
it.
thing. All
Oh
these
yeah.
years
Oh
later, still doing its
yeah.
thing.
Oh, no
Mhm.
doubt. And I got to get my kids. I got 4 of them. I'm getting them. We're going to Coney Island.
Yes.
We're gonna have a hot
Yes.
dog, and then you're going on that. And let's see
Yes.
if we can. And we'll talk about it later. Um, so yeah, I like Zeal. I like because let me see. Actually, what you said, I'm gonna actually kind of go off of that. I did a podcast earlier, and the guy was talking to. He asked me like, kind of, why do you live? What do you do? Do you have this prosperous life? Do you have joy and stuff? What makes you happy? And as a parent, I really said that what really makes me happy is seeing my kids happy.
Hmm.
Like I like seeing my 18-year-old son. He's got a
Yeah.
job. He's out there. He's doing stuff. I have my 3 daughters. It makes him happy. And I think with him, he wanted it to be like, well, what about you? What makes you happy? But for me, seeing them happy makes me happy. And what else? I just sent my wife is on vacation. I sent her to Mexico. I'm like, you work too hard, go away.
You
So I'm
sent her
like,
on
that made
vacation? That's
I
awesome.
I'm like, yeah, I'm like, go. It was her and like 5 of my cousins. So,
Yes.
I'm like, go. You go, you got 6 days, go to Mexico, all inclusive, go have fun. She works so hard. I deal with the kids, but I know how hectic life can work can be. I'm like, go.
I hear
And
you
it made me
flexing right
so
now,
happy.
husband of the year. I hear you
Whatever.
flexing.
And I'm like, just go do it. It made me feel so good because I've talked to her. Like right before we started talking, I was talking to her. She's like, oh, we're about to have dinner, we're gonna have some
Yeah.
drinks. I'm like, baby, go ahead. Go have some fun. Like it made my that's what's up. It
Yeah.
makes me happy to see the people around me in a good place.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, well, what about you? You're supposed to like, I'm enjoying my life. I'm a
Hmm.
parent. I like it. I'm a husband. I like it. And doing this, I like. So it's good to hear that I'm not the only person who enjoys seeing other people happy. And
Yes.
in, not in a sexual way. No, don't be
Yeah.
weird. But in a good way. but,
It's just
but
such
I
a
like it.
joy because I think
Isn't it?
moods are contagious and happiness is contagious. I say that to
Mhm.
my team at work all the time, like it's so easy to smile when you see other people smiling.
I
It's
agree.
it's like even if you don't know why, right? Even if you're not sure why somebody is smiling, if you see somebody genuinely happy, you can't help but feel this like little tingle inside of your body. Even if you're like the Grinch, you're still gonna feel it whether you like it or not,
Right, right.
and it's a good feeling and it's contagious, and I enjoy that feeling very, very much.
It's a little selfish, but there's nothing wrong with that. Like you
Mhm.
do good things because you get the rush of seeing somebody else happy. There
Yeah,
could be
it's a
worse
good
things you could be doing.
feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's a good
is. I
feeling.
love it.
Mhm.
I love it. The last letter in the word prize, E, and the word is expectation. A
Ooh.
strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. So, the vibe with Kai is a wonderful. You have a great platform. You do so much. I don't know how far in advance you think. Maybe because of ADHD, maybe that's not something you really do too much. But do you have plans in 5 years, aside from how many people you have following you? What will you be accomplishing in 5 years?
I was thinking about running for president. You know,
Oh,
no, I'm kidding.
don't do that. Don't
Yeah,
do that.
and yeah, Kanye is my vice president. It's gonna be great.
Oh, damn! Something happened. We got cut.
Oh man, but it's the old Kanye. It's the old Kanye,
Yeah.
not the new one. It's the
Oh,
old
okay.
Kanye, so
That
we're
one.
good. It's fine.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
fine.
Okay.
Um, no, I have big dreams. I have big lofty goals because that's just who I am as a person. So there's a lot of different things that I'm looking to accomplish. I would say the biggest one is I want to be um a mainstay in movies and TV in some fashion. I want to be able to entertain people in that way. My true goal is to be a late night talk show host or a morning show talk show host. That is my dream,
Okay.
ultimately
Okay.
to do that.
Okay.
But honestly, even if I were to just continue to grow my platform to the point that it's just like that's what I am, and I'm just kind of going around using various different mediums to spread knowledge and to learn and to offer people things. If I'm able to grow my platform to that point, that's a win for me. You know, to be able to just grow my platform in a way that I can give people more and to learn more from them and to create more of a safe space for people to talk about mental health and all of that. And like if I could do that, then like I'm set. I'm a happy guy.
That's good. Now, I'll just a little bit of insight into me to kind of get into my
Mhm.
question here. So, I'm sure, obviously, I'm older than you. Like I said, I'm 47,
I'm
and I
74.
no way. But
Yeah,
you know what?
man.
It's entirely possible because black don't
Black
crack.
don't crack.
You see, you could be like 80. You could you could be a Tuskegee Airman for all I
Black
know,
don't
and I
crack.
don't
I'm
even
just
know.
saying.
It's you could. And I worked for a long time, and then I one day I went to work and they said, "Listen, we don't really want you to come back ever." So that's what led to me being the stay at home dad. They're like,
Yeah.
"Just go and don't come back," and it led me to eventually doing this thing here.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is, as African Americans, we tend to be of we're Caribbean, and I'm Haitian to be exact.
Oh, nice.
They were like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be out working."
Mm.
Like me and the wife worked. I got fired. She was working. She's doing well. I can stay here.
Mhm.
What are you doing? You are a man in this household, patriarchal society, Haitians, like the man runs everything. What are you supposed? You're not here. What's going on? Why aren't you working? You're lazy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm
Mhm.
not lazy at all. I'm taking care of my kids. That's
Mhm.
harder than any job you have. I got
Yeah.
all of these kids, getting them to school, feed them, helping them with homework, all the
Yeah.
shenanigans. You think this easy? You're wrong. You don't
Uh-huh.
have these kids. You want these kids? I'll bring them over. They didn't want to listen
You can take them for a whole week. Take them for a whole
all
week.
week. Seriously, I'll pack them for you.
Right.
But they didn't understand it,
Yeah.
and it's partially because of men, but in particular because I'm Haitian, black men.
Mm.
We're not. That's not our place. Our
Mhm.
place is out there providing the financial, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Have you found have you found a different message or different response because you're black male talking about this?
Yes. And it's weird, but in a good way, because there's not too many of us out there talking about mental health the way that we are, right? Because to your point, as Black men in general, there's a certain expectation that people have of us, like, and not just our culture, just like society as a whole. There's a certain expectation that people have. And the example I always give is when I was growing up, there was three people that I looked up to the most: my dad, athletes, and hip hop artists. None of them were talking about mental health. None. Right. And with those three, I got to experience the expectation of Black men. So with my father, this is how you're supposed to be a Black man. This is how you're supposed to be a Black father. With hip hop artists, this is how you're supposed to express your grit and everything that you've gone through, right? And how tough you are. With sports, this is how you express how talented you are, how skilled you are, and all of that. But at no point were we really taught to be vulnerable in a healthy way, at least. And it was frowned upon, and it still is in a way. So to be here today, even in 2022, to know that there's not too many of me out there is baffling, but like I'm hoping it changes. Um, I think that people do view it differently because it's coming from me, because they don't see it often. You know, I guess I get to stand out a little bit. I guess it works in my favor a little bit, you know. But I wish more people would be able to, you know, safely and comfortably talk about it. Because a lot of the times when you think about mental health, a lot of the people that you see talking about mental health are white women, right? Typically. And then obviously you have white men after that. But then after that, it kind of gets a little mixed from there, from all different cultures. And ultimately, if I can, there might be like one little black boy out there that is on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube that might be in a similar position as I was when I was his age, not really knowing what's happening, but knowing perhaps something's wrong, or maybe the way that he was raised, you know, it's just weird for him. I'm hoping that that little black boy sees my stuff, sees my videos, my photos, my insight and my lives, and says, "Oh, I'm not the only one. It's okay to feel this way. I'm not alone." You know, if I can get it to that point, I think more and more men and black men will comfortably be able to talk about it.
I hear you talking about this. And so you were talking about, your father, and you got athletes and then hip hop. And I don't know if you've seen it, but lately there have been a few mental health experts or just people in music in general who said that Biggie's first album is pretty much him crying for help.
That
And I
makes sense.
never thought about that. And I put it back in and I'm like, he was struggling.
Hmm.
Like, we're not talking about it, but they were talking about it.
They 100% talking about it. Even with Tupac, Tupac's one of the most poetic, you know, hip hop artists out there. I consider him more of a poet than a rapper. I mean, he's a great rapper,
Agreed.
but like, you know,
Agreed.
he's a poet, and like he was expressing himself and being vulnerable without losing his edge, I guess, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember listening to Dear Mama, remember Dear Mama, like I remember listening to that, and I'm like, yo, he's thinking about how, you know, his mom and blah blah, but it's still like hard, right?
Right,
So like,
right, right, right,
you
right,
know,
right.
and so like, and but that didn't honestly hit me until I got older, and I was just kind of like re-listening to Biggie and Tupac and, you know, Common, you know, Q-Tip, like all these guys, and I was listening to them, I'm like, man, they are expressing themselves, but they're trying to keep that edge so they don't go too far, you know, so that people doubt their hipness, as the kids say nowadays.
As the kids say.
You know, but like, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the signs were always there. They're always there.
I've always felt like there's this kind of underlying discussion that's being had, but they're musicians. They're trying to make money and
Mhm.
such. So they're not gonna get too deep. I don't need you crying on the track,
I
but
know.
they want to they want to talk about it. And
Yes.
because I'm older, I'm like that old school. I'm Big Daddy Kane. I'm
Hmm.
KRS-One, and
Hmm.
and they weren't doing it, but KRS-One was talking about civil rights. He was
Hmm.
getting deep with it, and to a
Yeah.
degree, there was some emotion and such in there. Big Daddy
Hmm.
Kane was dancing and talking about getting the work done and stuff like that. But a
Hmm.
lot of these rappers were just, and I think what it really started hitting me with me was NWA.
Hmm.
They weren't talking about mental health; they were just talking about surviving,
Yes.
which is a big
Hmm.
part of the mental health discussion.
Yes.
We all have different issues we're going through. They're out there in Compton or whatever, just trying to make it through the day.
Hmm. Yes.
And how does that affect your psyche?
Yeah.
I always use a
Hmm.
black man just trying to walk around and you could get shot.
Hmm.
And the only thing that makes it worse is that it could be somebody who looks like you who does it.
Hmm.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's like there's so many different little factors that affect us.
Hmm.
So music, because I'm a huge music head. I'm
Yeah.
jazz, I'm hip hop, I'm an
Nice.
80s kid, I was Bon
Nice.
Jovi, I'm Def Leppard, I'm
Yeah.
all of that. And that's a whole different discussion because as black men,
That's the next podcast we
that's
do.
the next one, part two. Like I couldn't even really I wasn't black when in the 80s because I didn't listen to that stuff. And I had
Hmm.
a real kind of didn't feel like I wasn't comfortable just walking around with
Hmm.
my Walkman
Yeah.
listening to the Police or Hall and
Yeah.
Notes and stuff because that's not what black people are supposed to be
When I
listening
was in
to.
the fifth grade, you know what my favorite album was? Favorite complete album. It was Celine Dion. She had a song. She's like,
Ooh.
and that's the way
Well,
it.
yeah.
I would
Uh-huh.
listen to that on my cassette tape all day long, and I loved every second of it. Every second of it. So good.
Yes.
Shout out Celine
Oh,
Dion if you're watching. I know you're not, but like let's
yes.
just say if you're watching this right now, just know I appreciate you. You got me through the late part of my elementary school,
Oh
early
my
part
God.
of middle school.
I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Thank
I
you.
love it. And she loves it too. Thank you. Keep buying the album. The greatest hits have come
Yes.
out. Buy that. Yeah. And I think I got more comfortable being black when, to me, true blackness was when I could walk around and listen to whatever the hell I wanted to, and it didn't affect how black I was. That's a
Yes,
whole different discussion. I'm not going to go into that, but I feel like you kind of understand what
I
I'm talking
do. I
about.
do.
We're going to go back to the I. So the
Mhm.
I in the word prize doesn't represent a word, it represents the man I'm talking to. So we take all the shackles, all the titles that are thrust upon us men. So you are not a boyfriend, a content creator, an employee, a best friend, a podcaster. All that stuff is just thrown to the side. When it is you at your core, who are you?
I don't even know how to begin to answer that. Who am I at my core? I'm curious. I'm devoted. I'm passionate. I'm stubborn. I'm gritty. I survive. I push to be better. I'm proud. Um, I'm adventurous. I'm all of those things. I would say at my core.
Are you surviving or are you living?
Hmm. I think it depends on the day because, like I said, there's sometimes when I feel like it is a struggle, and I'm like it'll be like halfway through the day, and I'm like, man, I just need to get through this day. I need to get through this day, and go home, because maybe my social battery ran out that day, because I'm an introvert, and so maybe my social battery ran out quickly that day, or maybe there's just so much just kind of like piling on that it's just emotionally taxing, and I just want to go home to to my two cats and watch WWE or something, like I just want to,
Oh,
you know.
you didn't say you a wrestling fan too, bro? Oh
Yes.
my
What do you think I
God.
was doing right before? Right
Oh my God.
before.
Yes, I was watching Raw right.
Yes. But yes, the last thing I saw was Miz. Miz was faking his injury to go fight Dexter Loomis. That was the last thing I saw. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Are you alone or are you lonely?
Boy, am I alone or am I lonely? Uh, I am alone. I don't think I'm lonely. I'm surrounded by so much love and care that I don't feel lonely, but I am alone. I come home, it's me and my cats. You know, um, Most of the time I'm by myself. On weekends, I'm by myself. I don't really go out that much, to party or to hang out. Every now and then I will, but like I don't really do much. Usually just me by myself.
You comfortable being alone?
Yes. Yes. I can entertain
Like really?
myself. Like a true introvert can like really entertain themselves when they're by themselves. Like it is like the possibilities are endless. We love that. We love that we get to discover that.
That's awesome. So first of all, thank you for answering the questions, the prize mantra. I really appreciate that. I have a few more that I throw at you.
Yeah.
What's the best compliment you've ever been given?
The best compliment that I've ever been given. I every day I get messages from people um just saying, hey, your post really helped me today, or your video helped me realize that I should go talk to a mental health professional. um Getting messages like that it kind of reminds me why I do it, right? Because there's going to be times where I'm like, I'm working my butt off, and I'm like, man, why am I doing all this work? And then I get a message like that, and I'm like, oh, that's why. That's why I do it. And so I would say that's the best, I guess, compliment. But if we're looking from just a purely vain standpoint, when somebody says, "Hey, you have nice teeth," I I love that mainly because it makes my mom proud because she paid for these and because she
Nice.
paid for the braces and all the metal that I had in my face all throughout middle school and parts of high school. I was a brace face, man. Brace face. I was a nerd. And I
Okay.
talk like this. I talk like this. Like legit. I talk like this. And I have
Oh my God.
metal over my mouth.
Just
Yeah.
saliva where you just
Oh yeah.
drowning in it.
Oh my God. All over the place. I was a mess. I was a mess. Nobody liked me.
Oh, stop. Oh my God. They didn't know any better. Oh my goodness. Um, all right, two last things.
Yeah.
When I talk to men, there's one thing I discovered is that we have men don't value themselves a lot because we're kind of raised to value others, and that's why we take
Mm,
care of them. That's what we do what we do to take care of everybody else. And the more I talk to men, there's two things that I've kind of discovered. One is men don't think enough of themselves to take care of themselves literally. So my first question is, life is hard, life is tough, you're having a tough day, you're not feeling your best. What do you specifically do to self-soothe?
mm. Nothing. And by nothing, I mean not that I don't like do anything. I do nothing. I will just take a step back from everything and just kind of take in the reality of everything that surrounds me in that moment. So I'll sit on my couch and I'll just legit take deep breaths and I'll just sit there and I'll remind myself what I'm thankful for, the little things. I have a roof over my head. I have food on my table. I have a car that gets me from point A to point B and back. I have the internet. I have a phone. I have all of these things. I'll just sit there. I'll do nothing but just think and be grateful. And that kind of brings me back to to the reality of a situation. It's easier said than done, and sometimes it takes longer than normal. But man, when when you're able to truly sit down and do nothing except think about the things that you're grateful for, it really does ground you and it feels so good. It feels great.
The real point to that, the real, I think, kicker for that is that not only is it great to appreciate it, but to really have it is even the
Yeah.
better thing. Because we have a lot. I before I kind of really got into this, I feel bad about it. I always felt like this whole mental health talk was kind of like a first world thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and I'm like, oh my God, oh, he's got anxiety or whatever. He's driving it,
Mhm.
he's anxiety, yeah, but he's got his top down and he's driving and his hair's floating in the wind. Oh, but he's got problems with his heart. Oh,
Yes.
I'm like, oh,
Yes.
like that's terrible. I felt so
Yeah.
bad about that. But it's important to recognize I have a place to not feel so good.
Mhm.
And I think that's one thing to keep in mind, the real basic stuff.
Mhm.
And the other thing, and you kind of mentioned it, but I'll ask it. Men, because we don't talk, we don't really have someone to talk to,
Mhm.
somebody to release all that stuff to. So I'm asked men all the time, do you have a friend? Do you have a person right now? Pick up the phone. Yo, Bobby, I did some dumb shit today. Like stupid. And I don't even know why I did it. Who
Mhm.
you could call right now and basically have that conversation, tell them what you did. He could be like, you know what? Kai, that was dumb. What were you thinking? But when you were done with that conversation,
Yeah.
you were good. Do you have that safe space? Do you have a friend who right now, and let's just make it a little bit harder, it's not family. Do you
Mhm.
have a boy? Do you have that friend who you could say that to? And then you hang up and I'm all good.
Yes, 100%. There are two people that stand out the most. Number one is my best friend, Nikki, who has been my ride or die for years. And what's great about her is that she'll always keep it real. Like she's not she's not in it just to validate my feelings. Like she will always 100% be upfront and honest. And if I'm being an a-hole, she'll tell me. She'll tell me for sure, you know. And the second person is my former roommate named Gia. She We lived together throughout the entire pandemic. We lived together for 3 years. I'm sorry, for 2 years before she moved out, and now it's just me here. But we spent a lot of time together because, I mean, we had nowhere else to go.
Right.
It was just us, and everything was shut down. You know, nobody was leaving their house.
Right.
So we've had a lot of time together, but it ended up working out because we ended up building this trust and love and care and just genuine um, support for each other through our best times and our worst times. So if there's ever a time that I'm like, I need to just get this off my chest, it'll be one of those two for sure.
That's good.
Mhm.
Awesome. Not many men have that.
Mhm.
I discovered that, and it was just a question, kind of a throw out, just kind of round out the conversation. And if
Yeah,
you guys like, no, like I had friends in high school, but then I moved on college and a
yeah.
job. And if something happened, I don't know who I would talk to. Maybe I'll go give my mom a call or call my dad. And I'm
Mhm.
like, it's a different conversation
Yeah.
when you can call your dad and say, "Oh, I went to the club and I messed with somebody I should have never been talking to." Like
Yeah.
that's not the right person to talk to about that.
I
So
mean,
to
I
have
say that stuff to my cats, but they don't really say anything back. I don't know why. It's like they don't
they
want to
give you
hear
that
it.
look, like, really? That's
They're like,
her?
they're like, "Are you gonna feed me? Are you gonna clean my litter box? Can you do that, please, before you dump your trauma on me? Can you clean up my dump in the freaking bathroom first, before you dump me with your trauma? Jesus."
You brought her to our home? What you doing? Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. This has been such a fantastic
Yeah.
conversation. Where, as if people don't know, but let's get it in the record anyway. Where can people find you to hear you, to see you, to kind of get comfortable, to get the vibe with Kai? Where can they find
Yeah, the easiest way is to visit my website, thevibewithkai.com. Everything is there, and you'll get links to my podcast. You'll get links to my blog. You'll get links to my Patreon. You'll get links to all my social media channels. You'll get links to all of that stuff. And here's the really cool thing, and I just announced this week. I'm curating a book right now in which I'm going to be telling my mental health story, but more importantly, I'm going to be telling other people's mental health story. I want to gather as many stories as I can about people's mental health, the good and the not so good, the highs and the lows, the triumphs, the failures. I want to compile a bunch of them and curate it into one book and then and give it to people so that they understand, they can read through these stories and understand that they're not alone. Whatever they're going through, there are people from all over the world that are also going through that. So I'm accepting submissions up until the end of November. So anybody, male, female, everything in between, black, white, everything. If you're interested in telling your story, visit my website, thevibewithkai.com. You'll see the link on there, and you can submit anonymously as well if you don't want to have your first name out there. That is perfectly fine. But I just want to be able to provide a space where people can just read and see various people's stories from all over the world.
Are you like a trained author, or when you were writing, you were just writing for the fun of it? Like, what do you
Yeah, just for the
what?
fun. I mean, I've written so many blogs, and I'm like, my friend was telling me that he was like, you write blogs like 2 or 3 times a week. Why don't you write a book? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could take some of the blogs that I've written and just like make it into like one little book. But no, I wanted to start from scratch, and I just wanted to, go in with the intention of writing a book and, pull data and information and stories from other blogs that I've written. But yeah, just kind of start from scratch and then pull in other people's stories as well.
All right. I guess the last question to anybody who obviously is listening to you and loves everything that you've done, but kind of wants to build their presence in social media and stuff. Do you have any tips for anyone?
Absolutely. Consistency and patience. Consistency and patience. My daytime job, I'm the executive director of paid media for a digital marketing firm. So I oversee the teams that run strategies for social media and for Google and Amazon and all that. Um, every single company, every single person wants to grow their platform on social media, but not everybody is consistent and not everybody is patient. People want right here, right now. It doesn't happen that way. You might see people blow up out of nowhere, which happens, but that doesn't happen all the time. So have a plan, know what you want to talk about, know that sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it's not. Look at your analytics. The numbers will never lie. They'll let you know what works and what doesn't work, and build your strategy off of that and continue to be consistent. If you say you're going to write a blog every Tuesday, write a blog every Tuesday. If you're going to put up a YouTube video every Friday, put up a YouTube video every Friday. When people start to expect that, they're going to be more likely to come back and watch your stuff or read it, whatever it may be.
Excellent. Thank you for that bit of info.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man.
Again, like I said, I wasn't sure I was going to get to talk to you, but this is one
Oh,
of the best
yeah, no.
conversations I've had in such a long time. And I don't know, hopefully, if allowed, maybe we can talk again, maybe when the book comes out. But
Yeah,
it's been fantastic.
absolutely,
Um,
man. When I'm doing my
so
press tour, you know.
exactly. Slip me in real quick. We talk about this, whatever. Yeah, I'm down. We'll definitely do that. Oh, you know what? You said you from Philly. Best cheesesteak in Philly. Where is that?
Ooh, okay. So if we're talking brick and mortar store, I like Prince's, but the best cheesesteaks in the city come from the food carts, in my opinion. Right?
Okay.
Go to one of the food carts, get yourself a cheesesteak, because like it's like really questionable whether it's actually clean or not, but it
Mm,
adds a little flavor to it, and you just kind of accept it, and it tastes good. Don't ask
no
questions. Don't ask
doubt.
questions. Why does this taste so good? Don't ask questions.
No, you don't want to know. You just want to.
You don't want to
That's it.
know.
Like them little snow, like hole in the back. That spot. That
Oh
old
yeah,
woman in the
those are the
back cooking.
best. They're
Yeah, she
so
probably gonna
good.
clean that grill
Those are my
because she
personal
works there.
favorite. Hmm. Hmm.
Excellent. With that said, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I
man.
appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who listens and watches to Man of the Prize, the podcast. Thank you to Kristen McGriff. She does my intro and my outro. Smooth voice coming in, smooth voice sending you out. Man, finally, have a great week. And if something's going on, get it out. We talk, we do not withhold it. We give it out to everybody. Everybody's out there to hear from you. This has been Men of the Prize, the podcast, where your inner monologue is revealed. Thank you, Kai. Have a good week. We're out.